It is time to way overreact to prospect scrimmage as Quentin Musty dazzles. Will Smith looks great. Havelid, Cagnoni, all the prospects. We're going to be going over just again, way overreactions to prospect scrimmage on tonight's live edition of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now and Inside the Rink. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first and at this live viewing of the day. We are proudly a part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you got to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And 1,000% overreacting to prospect scrimmage, because there's nothing better than saying how already running laps, victory circles on Quentin Musty and Will Smith. And I think we have to start with Musty, who turned 18 today and absolutely burned down the house tonight. 2 goals, scored in the shootout. Every time he was on the ice, you noticed him doing stuff. Almost had a set up Cardwell on a game winner. That was Dylan Ernst. We'll talk about Dylan Ernst in a minute, but Dylan Ernst with an insane save right there. But Sharks fans, we got I know it is one prospect scrimmage game, but we got a steal in Quentin Musty. I talked to my friend Max yesterday, Max Miller of the Hockey News. Quentin Musty is going to be one of the last guys sticking around training camp. And yes, he is going to, I don't think he's going to be playing a bunch of NHL games, but I think he's going to be playing some NHL games this year. He looks so good. So big and smooth and can shoot, and just skill oozing out of him, and the flow and everything. And the number 13, again, granted 13, I'm always going to lean toward, as a childhood Dan Marino fan, I'm always going to be leaning towards 13. But Musty, man, it is such guys, my career might have killed it with this draft. So but yeah, Musty, every time he was on the ice, playing with Bystedt, I think helped a lot too, right? Bystedt was a little more quiet tonight. But again, I think Musty and Bystedt, like having those two guys together, and they worked really well together. I think Musty got the shine from it, but Bystedt, having a very competent wing in Filip Bystedt, who's going to probably be, a potential, second liner for the Sharks down the road. Musty playing with him, you could see what happens when he has skilled guys around him, and Musty was the best tonight. I mean, if we had Will Smith and Musty together, it would have been just absolutely game over tonight for whoever they played. So, yes, Sharks fans, I know, again, one prospect game, but you gotta feel really good about what you saw from Musty tonight. So, and Will Smith, he did have the one really nice goal where it was kind of the defender lost it, and I think Will Smith kind of was there putting a little pressure on him, and then just turn around absolute snipe from Smith. Did have a couple of nice shots as well. Just kind of the puck just kind of bounced off a stick a couple times tonight. And I think Moldoni and I think his line mates were, I believe it was Moldoni and Lund were his line mates, but it's going to be there. Like you can see it with Smith, that just this sure speed and the way he processes it and the skill. Will Smith, once he goes to college and he works on his defensive game in college, man, the Sharks laid some foundation with this draft class with Musty and Smith. I know a lot of people I talked to at the draft, a lot of people, a lot of my friends in the draft, the scouting community, just like, you guys got to steal in Musty. You guys got to steal in Musty. And man, I feel like we got to steal in Musty, and just got some text from some people tonight too. Again, it's a prospect scrimmage, and we're gonna overreact. But yeah, Musty look good. So among some of the other forwards, I think we're gonna kind of start with the forwards, and then we'll go into the defense and goalies in the second segment, and then I'll kind of answer some of your questions and whatever you guys want to talk about for the third segment. But Alex Young, I thought, looked really good tonight. You can see the hands with him, flash some plays as well. One more year, where they said he's transferring to Arizona State. He's going to be playing the Barracuda at the end of the season. Like, he'll sign his ELC. I think there's something there with him. Remember, he was a 7th round draft pick and back in the 2020 draft class. But I think there's something there with Alex Young. That dude really found it last year. Playing, I think this year, playing for Arizona State. That program's an up and coming program. I think he's gonna find the back of the net a bunch of times this year for Arizona State. And I think the Sharks, being patient with a guy like Alex Young, they're gonna have something with him, and he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be a big piece as the Barracuda make their playoff run, and him potentially being an addition at the end of the season for him. But I really liked what I saw out of him. Again, those hands, that shot. Every time he was kind of, you noticed when Alex Young was out there. So some of the other forwards, Brandon Svoboda, I've already seen the comments on him. The Sharks' 3rd round pick from this year, had a nice goal as well. Again, another one of these is going to be a long-term development. Don't expect these guys to contribute right away. But I know a lot of people were kind of questioning, well, did they reach going up for him? Who knows? And if he turns out to be a good player in 4 or 5 years, does it matter if you reached? If you just found a good player, isn't the whole part of the draft to just try to find good players? So I really like what I saw. Svoboda tonight did have that goal. Kind of playing on that second line. Can't wear 88 though. You can't wear 88. I know. Prospect scrimmage, et cetera, et cetera. Come on, Sharks. You can't let him wear 88. Give him another number. There's other numbers, but give him 0. I don't know. 0 with the 0. Yeah, he does have some O's in his last name. So maybe, anyway, you can't give him 88. So but a lot of these guys, I thought it was pretty interesting, just from where they didn't let kind of the old, the older guys play. Like, there was no Gushin, no Robbins, no Co. I think Ozzy was the only one really from, of the older quote unquote prospects. So that played tonight. And I mean, Ozzy looked like a man among boys out there because he's been playing in the AHL for the past season. And a lot of these guys have been playing, in the USHL or the OHL. Like, Ozzy did look, it looked like Ozzy was trying to do a little too much. But again, give Ozzy a break, because he hasn't had a chance to play against children for a while. So I thought Ozzy looked fine tonight as well. You saw little splashes from guys like Lebach. I kind of made a couple of little plays. Cardwell almost had a goal at the end of the game that would have won it. You can see with Cardwell, right? Like I talked about with Max yesterday. Little flashes here, little flashes there. I think once he kind of get used to playing in the AHL, I think the Cardwell is going to have himself a pretty nice season there. So before we jump into the back end, we're going to talk about some very impressive defenders from the Sharks, or for Sharks prospects, and we're going to talk about some of the goalies. And I thought definitely some takeaways from the goalies and all that fun stuff, and answer some of your questions. Do need to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our good friends over at FanDuel. And I know it's just baseball season, but you still have that itch where sometimes you just want to gamble on something just to make you feel alive again. So you can take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel to get 10 times your first bet amount on bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend on betting everything from the money line to over under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, we have 43 of you nerds in here. Oh my god, I bet you guys all like defense too. All right, let's start with the defense, since all you nerds like defense. Cagnoni, dude looks like another steal. They talked about in the broadcast how all the 2023 draft picks were all, 6 foot or bigger with the exception of Cagnoni. But Cagnoni, you could see him all over the ice, right? Saved a goal at his own end, did his best spinorama approach, his best Eklund, just all over that ice. Every time he had the puck on his stick, you knew something was going to happen with him. And Cagnoni, man. And I think that chip of him falling to the 4th round when he was expected to be a potential first, if not early 2nd round pick, that chip is going to stay with him for the rest of his life. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that dude's going to make the NHL. I think he has the chip on his shoulder now. I think he's got the skills. I think he's got the whole package there where he's going to be, he's going to be something special for the Sharks. And we see this, looking back this week earlier, right, with that earlier this week when I looked back at the 28 draft class and talking about Ryan Merkley, where these smaller defensemen, right, that either when they're in the NHL, they're going to be special or they're just not going to make it. And I think Cagnoni is going to be special in the NHL just because, again, I think he has that, especially with that. I think there's going to be a chip on there. So, when he goes back to Portland playing for the Winterhawks this year, I think he's going to continue to have a big season for them. He had a great season for them last year. The Winterhawks are always a good team. Like, you're going to see, I think we're going to be looking back and laughing at Cagnoni. So some of the other defensemen I thought were really impressive. I thought Havelid just looked smooth, right? Every time, just him, him and Furlong were playing together. That was a really nice combo, especially Furlong. I haven't really got to see too much of playing in the queue. I watched a little bit of Havelid, catching some SHL games here and there, but just looks smooth, right? Again, the Sharks need those right-handed defensemen. One of them needs to pop. Havelid's going to be going back to Linkoping this season. It sounds like from the broadcast. Expect Bystedt to go back as well. Again, I get it. I think for Bystedt, he's going to be playing kind of like top line minutes in the SHL. Like that's good development right there. And I know we want our shiny new toy over here in San Jose, but him playing top line minutes in the SHL isn't the worst thing compared to maybe kind of having to mix it up a little bit or not getting the same opportunities here in the AHL this year. So go let those two guys go play over in Sweden again this year and light it up. So, but yeah, just how smooth Havelid is, the way he, kind of changes direction, his puck handling. Again, I know it's a one scrimmage game, but we're overreacting because that's what we're doing as you guys are watching a live stream about a prospect scrimmage that's happening in the, beginning of July. So, but anyway, so, but yeah, with the defenseman, I also like Pulli a lot. Like, you can see just that big physicality. And that's the way the Sharks have been, Mike Grier's really trying to ramp up and rebuild this defensive prospects room, or, this prospect pipeline, and getting these bigger body guys who can skate. Pulli, I think, fits that bill. And I think Pulli's going to, I think he's going to have a pretty nice season for either the Barracuda or the Sharks, or both this year. Didn't seem to kind of take anybody's crap. Was a very physical guy. And yeah, I really liked what I saw out of Pulli. As for the goaltenders, I thought, if I had to kind of rank them, I mean, maybe it's just that save, but Ernst looked really, really good tonight. And I know he's on a tryout. I'm just, you can sign him because I think he's still going back to, I'm pulling it up right now. How old is Dylan Ernst? 2004. So yeah, I think you can, if you want to sign him to it, he's only 19. If you want to sign him to a deal. I don't know if he has to go back to the redraft or anything like that, but just keep an eye on him. I'm not sure what the deal is with Ernst, if he has to go, if he's draft eligible or if you can sign him or whatever your deal is with him. Just keep an eye on him. He's might be a potential. Again, I know it's one game. He had an amazing save, but I like the way he looked. Beaupit, I thought, had a really solid night tonight too, as well, especially compared to kind of some of the mistakes we saw from him last year. Beaupit made a couple of really nice saves on Will Smith. But I think with him, you saw some growth compared to what we saw last year, where you saw some flashes last year. But if I remember correctly, he was a little bit shaky at times. I think he was way more confident. Like I said, had some really nice stops on Will Smith, and Will Smith, as we saw, can shoot the puck. So between the two Barracuda ones, I think I was a little bit more impressed with Chrona over Romanov. Again, they were swapping in and out, et cetera, et cetera. Weird game, right? Especially going from like 5-on-5 to 4-on-4 to 3-on-3. But I think, again, overreacting. I think Magnus Chrona right now I would expect him to kind of have the slight edge as the backup to McAnemy heading into the training camp for the Barracuda backup. But like I've said before, I think both will play AHL games this year. I would expect Romanov maybe to start kind of like what we saw with Strauss-May last year, where kind of starting in the ECHL and then, kind of jumping over, et cetera, et cetera. So, I was, that's early and, little overreaction. So, overall, I think it was a really fun experience. The penalty kill thing, or the penalty shot thing, was kind of crazy with the running start basically, and then all the defensemen. I don't think Holtonen knew what was going on the first penalty because he got pickpocketed at the end there, or from behind. But it was, I think just enjoying these moments because when the Sharks are, on like a losing 7 out of 9 in the middle of January, and it's bad and we don't have Erik Karlsson to watch or anything like that, just remember these fun little moments of Quentin Musty and Will Smith, some of these young players doing fun stuff, because it's going to be a slog of a season, I have a feeling. So, but it was, good, and good to see you guys packed it. Texas Arena looked packed, looked like it was engaged. You could hear the crowd. Good atmosphere for the night. So really chances that a really good event. Really proud of Sharks fans filling the tank there, and kind of being excited about these new guys. So great. Now we have a long stretch until any real hockey starts in September. So before we start answering some of your questions, if you guys have questions, you're on the live stream right now, go ahead and start dropping them in the chat. Start answering as many as I can. Talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. If anything you guys want to go back on and stuff, feel free to drop them in the chat. But before we do that, do want to take a moment thanking you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Again, proudly a part of the Locked On Network, where we cover your team every day. Next week, going to give my updated top 10 rankings of the Sharks prospects. I'm going to start digging into these some of these new players with maybe some interviews lined up, some other fun stuff. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys, making Locked On Sharks over 2,000 subscribers strong. We will have, over the weekend, I'll have the announcement of how you can win a Patrick Marleau banner, replica banner from his retirement. So if you haven't subscribed, now's the time. We'll keep an eye out on the YouTube channel this weekend to see how you can get entered in to win your very own Patrick Marleau replica banner. So let's answer some of your questions, but I need something to drink before we do that. So, all right. Matt Thompson asked about Wiesblatt. So Wiesblatt looked good tonight, although he's the third or fourth dev camp. What role will he play? I think Wiesblatt's going to be your energy third liner, right? I can see him as like a pesky penalty killing ace type of guy who can pot a couple goals type of situation. But I think that's kind of where his ceiling kind of lies, especially with, if you look at some of the other prospects, right, the Sharks have. I don't know if he's going to be able to kind of jump some of like your Gushins or your Musties or your Smiths or Eklund. Like, I don't think he's going to be quite skilled enough to play those. But, anytime just finding NHL players is hard enough as it is. And I know he's a first round pick, end of the first round. But getting a player who will play NHL games for you, I think that's kind of what he's going to be. So is like energy third liner type of player. So. Let's see. Is there possibly a Musty ends up even better than Smith? Maybe. I still think Smith is more talented. But you could have yourselves a really nice combination between Musty and Smith going forward, from this draft. And so, I'm still going to lean Smith just because he was the fourth overall pick, and most drafts he would be probably the second or third pick, mostly probably the second pick in a lot of drafts. Will Smith, still very talented. Trying not to overreact. I thought he looked good tonight. I think, like I said, I think Musty had a little bit better line mates than Smith. So how do you think the Sharks prospect pool is stacking up against the rest of the league right now? Byron Bader, who friend of the show, has been on the show. I know his model is very much more scoring driven. I think he has the Sharks right around 10th right now, and that feels about right. It's the prospect pool right now. I think is deep. You see a lot of potential NHL guys. They still are just lacking a lot of those like star guys, right? Guys, you can point to Smith now, right? You can point to Eklund, potentially Musty, but I think it needs like one or two more of those like cream of the crop guys where you can feel like, okay, that dude can be a difference maker in a playoff game type of a person. And right now, if I had to point, I think Eklund, Musty, again, very early, and Smith are those guys that you can point to, like, okay, that dude can be a difference maker in a playoff game and be the best player on the ice in any given night type of thing. So they need more guys like that, and they're going to continue to get more guys like that over the next couple of years. So especially because they're probably going to be really bad this year. So keep going through. What are the chances Bystedt plays with Barracuda? Bystedt, like I said, I think he will start the season in SHL, and then he's going to come over in the spring. So Bystedt will be playing Barracuda games. It's just he's probably going to be playing Barracuda games in March, because remember, the SHL starts earlier, therefore it ends earlier. So you hope he has a nice season and his team loses in the playoffs early type of situation, or misses the playoffs. That way he can get over here earlier. But I would expect Bystedt to be one of those kind of end of the season, like how we saw Luca Cagnoni right last year, finished his KHL season and then was over here playing. I would expect the same thing for that. And Bystedt, once he makes that jump, he'll be playing in North America from here on out type of thing. So, how do I see the blue line a few seasons from now? Marc-Edouard Vlasic, because he will be here until the sun explodes. But no, I think, Muka Dillon, I think will make his NHL debut this year. And then potentially kind of, I think next year he'll be kind of in a fight. He'll be fighting for a play, like a NHL job next year. We'll see, to be honest, with the Sharks and kind of their blue line. I think a lot of the guys that they've drafted and kind of picked up here, I think they're going to be, a little bit more longer term projects, right? Like Cagnoni, as exciting as he is, I still think he's, you're probably looking at 3 or 4 years before he's playing NHL games type of situation, right? Henry Thrun, of course, he's going to be around. I think Pulli, we'll see. I think he has a chance to kind of stick around for a little bit. Gurov, I think, is just going to be an NHL player because he's going to be like a bottom pairing type of guy, and who's going to have some grit and with him. So LaRock, we'll see what happens, especially coming off an injury. I think it's going to be a big year for him going back. I assume he's going back to the WHL to play with the Victoria Royals. But can he bounce back to how we saw him before his injury, and then expect at least a year for him in the AHL type of thing. So anyway, let's go. Let's see what else you got. What else? Here's another question. Are we going all in and tanking for Celebrini? Of course, the Sharks are going to be bad again this year. Yeah, it's probably going to be between the Flyers and the Sharks, because the Flyers are full on burning it down as well, which is, but the Sharks are going to probably be in another top 3. I think they're going to be a top 3 team, or bottom 3 team, however you want to look at it. They're going to be, I think they're going to be kind of in that range right now, especially if they trade Erik Karlsson and they don't do anything major to replace him. We'll probably look at that next week a little bit more, assuming Erik Karlsson isn't traded over the weekend. If Erik Karlsson's traded over the weekend, then we'll do an emergency podcast on that. But assuming Erik Karlsson is traded, I think they're going to be another long season for the Sharks, and I think they're going to be very much in the mix for a top 3 pick coming into this year. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think we get Erik Karlsson trade before training camp starts. Yeah, I think he gets traded. They're working on it. So if I had to guess right now, I think the Penguins make the most amount of sense. Something Kyle and I talked about way long ago, that the Penguins make a lot of sense. A team that is trying to win a cup right now. They have a bad contract that they can send back. They don't have much for prospects, but they got their picks. So I would just take the picks and hope that they get to the playoffs and then lose in the playoffs, because we need the Devils to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. So does Luca Cagnoni play in the NHL? Yeah, especially when the season after the deadline, when the season's long gone, and the Sharks are going to be. I think Luca Cagnoni will get NHL games next year. Again, we see Mike Greer's being very, very slow with these prospects. He wants to make sure that they're fully comfortable and ready to come in, and he's not just handing jobs away. I think Luca Cagnoni will 1,000% play in the NHL next year, unless he totally regresses type of thing. But yeah, I think Luca Cagnoni is playing in the NHL at the end of the season, kind of like how we saw with guys like Gushin and Robbins and Eklund, all these guys kind of after the trade deadline, and Bordelot making their NHL, playing in the NHL last year. So a trade proposal, Karlsson with 30% retained plus a second and a prospect for Shane Wright. Who says no? I have to give up a second and a prospect, plus I have to retain 30. Everybody says no in that situation. The Kraken are giving up Shane Wright. I know, yeah, the Kraken are giving up Shane Wright. They just drafted him. So, all right, last couple questions. What are you looking forward to in the next season? My Swedish son, William Eklund, burning down the NHL. That is what come on. That's other than William Eklund. I really want to see Hertl have a bounce back season. And he had a perfectly cromulent season last year, but he didn't have that Hertl season. And I want to see William Hertl. I want to see Tomas Hertl just have a monster, point per game type of season. Gives us something to root for, right? We had last year, we had Erik Karlsson being awesome, even though the Sharks lost every night. I want to see the same thing. I want to give me a reason to have to watch 82 of these games for this year, because and then have to put out a podcast. You guys know it is a grind having to try to come up for reasons to talk about a terrible, terrible team. So I'm looking forward to a monster season from Tomas Hertl this year. All right, last question. Does Gushin get a fair shot at the Sharks this year? I think they want Gushin to be the dude in the AHL, right? Especially with Eklund gone. Bordelot is, going to be, if he starts on the Barracuda, I don't think Bordelot is going to be on the Barracuda the entire season. I think they want Gushin to be the dude, right? And be the points leader and produce and all that fun stuff. potentially be the Sharks AHL representative at the All-Star game, or Barracuda AHL representative at the All-Star game. I think Gushchin, he looked really good at the end of the season last year. Can he build on that? And can he sustain it for like a full season type of thing? So that's my guess. So all right. That's going to be it for me tonight. Again, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for subscribing. 2,000 subscribers, and already at like 2012 or something like that. You guys are just absolutely monsters tonight. It's sorry. Somebody just, did I miss your, if Smith and, one last question. If Smith and Musty pop off next year, it will go up. Oh yeah, to 10. Yeah. I think I don't know. Did I miss your question? Sorry, buddy. Next time. What was I say? Oh yeah. Thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks. Thank you guys for supporting me. It really means a lot. You can follow the show, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and Threads at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. If you haven't subscribed, please do so wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And again, we'll be back on Monday. Probably going to be spending all weekend re-ranking the top prospects. I'm going to be working on something for Inside the Rink that I'm also going to turn an episode into who runs the power play for the Sharks if Erik Karlsson's traded, and look at all the potential candidates for that. So plenty of good stuff. Got an interview I'm working on lining up for next week as well. So until Monday, bye, friends.